Let's begin with the foundations. Welcome to another lecture. Today we consider Haynes King, an American football quarterback whose career, as it were, offers a compact case study in adaptability, system fit, and the evolving role of quarterbacks as dual-threat operators. I am Alexei. We will proceed with a structural overview and naturally some measured detours into history and counterfactuals.
Hi, I'm Priyanka, Professor Alexei's teaching assistant. I will ask a few simple questions as we go, so we can unpack the details without losing the big picture.
To frame our discussion, in basic terms, Haynes King is a dual-threat quarterback, which means he can threaten a defense both by passing the ball downfield and by running it himself. Think in broad family resemblance of players like Jalen Hurts or Lamar Jackson, who manipulate space with both arm and legs. Not equivalence, of course, but a useful mental model for versatility and play structure. In technical terms, King's college usage aligned with RPO and zone read concepts. In an RPO, or run-pass option, the offense reads a specific defender post-snap. The quarterback can hand off, keep, or throw, contingent on that defender's leverage. In a zone read, the quarterback reads an unblocked edge defender and either gives the ball to the running back or keeps it, exploiting overcommitment. King's profile indicates comfort with both, and his 2024 season at Georgia Tech, with a 72.9% completion rate, suggests improved decision efficiency within those fast-twitch structures.
And the terms around his career moves. Could you clarify what the transfer portal and UDFA status mean, just so we are aligned?
Certainly. The transfer portal is the NCAA's formal mechanism by which student-athletes declare their intent to explore other programs. Once listed, they may be contacted and recruited elsewhere. UDFA refers to undrafted free agent. After the NFL draft concludes, players not selected may sign with any team. King went undrafted in 2026 and signed with the Carolina Panthers in April 2026. He then featured in the Pro Football Hall of Fame game, the preseason opener in Canton, Ohio, guiding a 33-30 win over the Arizona Cardinals, which is, for a young quarterback, a valuable stage for operational proof of concept. Why does this matter now? Modern offenses, arguably across both college and professional tiers, prioritize multiplicity. A dual-threat quarterback stresses the defense's numbers and angles. Defenders must honor quarterback run on zone reads and contain rollouts, which opens windows for slants, glance routes, and vertical shots in RPO families. The stakes are strategic. One player becomes two problems. And in football's arithmetic, that is a non-trivial advantage.
And I think his path shows the human side. Injuries, transfers, high expectations. The data is about yards and touchdowns, but the experience is about adapting under uncertainty, right?
Before we get to the complexities, a brief history. King was born January 2001. He grew up in Longview, Texas, where his father, John King, has been the high school's head coach since 2004. Under that continuity, Haynes mastered the system early, and in 2018, as a junior, led Longview to its first state title in 81 years. Over 42 high school games, he produced 7,537 passing yards and 82 passing touchdowns, with 1,392 rushing yards and 20 rushing scores, culminating in selection to the 2020 Under Armour All-American game.
So he arrives at Texas A&M with pedigree and real production behind him.
Indeed. In 2020, he backed up Kellen Mond, appearing briefly. In 2021, Jimbo Fisher named him the starter. However, on September 11th, he suffered a fractured lower right leg early in the game and was ruled out indefinitely 2 days later. He appeared in only 2 games that season. In 2022, mixed results across 6 games prompted entry into the transfer portal in December 2022. And later that month, he transferred to Georgia Tech. The change of environment was catalytic. In 2023, he started 13 games, threw for 2,842 yards and 27 touchdowns, added 737 rushing yards and 10 rushing touchdowns, and led Georgia Tech to a Gasparilla Bowl win over UCF. In 2024, efficiency spiked, a 72.9% completion rate, only 2 interceptions and still 11 rushing touchdowns. That year also featured an extraordinary 44-42 loss to Georgia that extended to 8 overtimes. Some accounts term elements of it controversial, though the specifics vary across reports and the NCAA's multi-overtime format itself can create unusual sequences. In 2025, he finished 10th in Heisman voting, won ACC Player of the Year and the Earl Campbell Tyler Rose Award, and closed with a narrow Pop-Tarts Bowl defeat to BYU 25-21.
And the totals. We should mark the scale of his output.
Of course, across 2020 to 2025, King accumulated 9,486 passing yards with 65 passing touchdowns, alongside 2,427 rushing yards, with 37 rushing touchdowns, 102 total touchdowns, which is for a quarterback a robust two-way ledger. Then, in 2026, he went undrafted, signed with the Carolina Panthers in April 2026, and in the Hall of Fame game, he helped secure a 33-30 win over Arizona. A small sample, but an auspicious first impression at the professional level. Speaking of adaptation, I should note a personal interest. We observe, across sport and scholarship alike, that setbacks are not terminal states but inflection points. The question is how one updates priors under new constraints. King's journey, with an early injury, a transfer, and then recognition in 2025, is a clean laboratory for studying resilience, if you will, without sentimentality. Reopening. This brings us to 3 guiding questions. First, historically, how did the 2021 injury alter King's trajectory? Second, counterfactually, what if he had not been injured and had remained Texas A&M starter throughout 2021? Third, prospectively, how will his dual-threat skill set translate in the NFL, given the constraints and opportunities of professional defenses?
So yeah, moving on, let's take the first question. Professor, I'm curious about the historical impact of that injury. Not just the missed snaps, but the way it kind of reroutes a career.
It's important to understand the timing. Named starter to open 2021, King was positioned to learn Jimbo Fisher's pro-style verbiage at game speed. Those are high-value developmental reps. The fracture on September 11 truncated that runway, transferring live reps to Zach Calzada, and essentially deferring King's accumulation of decision cycles. In this context, the injury becomes an exogenous shock that altered not merely statistics but the instructional arc. Without in-season refinement, the variance around his projected growth widened, which likely contributed to the eventual portal decision in December 2022.
Professor, could you clarify the adaptation piece? Like, after the injury and the transfer, what did we actually see change in his play at Georgia Tech?
We observed several signals. First, the willingness to push vertically remained, as evidenced by 27 passing touchdowns in 2023. Second, decision efficiency improved in 2024, with a 72.9% completion rate and just 2 interceptions, suggesting enhanced processing speed or better constraint plays built into the system, or both. Third, rushing volume and red zone usage intensified, culminating in 15 rushing touchdowns in 2025. In simpler terms, the system at Georgia Tech embraced his legs as a primary resource, and his passing stabilized without sacrificing aggression. Thus, the injury, paradoxically, catalyzed a move to a scheme that amplified his comparative advantage.
Building on that, the counterfactual. What if he had not fractured his leg in 2021? Can we say anything responsible about how his Texas A&M tenure might have unfolded?
Theoretically, yes, with caveats. Continued starts in 2021 would have yielded more live reps against SEC defenses, compressing the learning curve in Fisher's system. We can infer a plausible trajectory: incremental reduction in early career interceptions, increased command of protections, and a more robust sample size to attract NFL evaluators within a pro-style framework. However, that path might also have constrained designed quarterback runs relative to what Georgia Tech later adopted. In short, we might have seen a different balance of attributes featured. Perhaps a less extreme rushing touchdown count, but potentially earlier familiarity with NFL-adjacent reads and terminology.
And in terms of team success, do you think a full season with him at quarterback could have meaningfully shifted Texas A&M's outcomes, or is that too speculative?
It is to some extent speculative. Football is a high-entropy environment. That said, quarterback stability tends to improve offensive efficiency in red zone and third down contexts. If King had remained healthy, we might expect marginal gains in those high-leverage sequences due to continuity and tailored play calling. Whether that translates into 1 or 2 additional wins hinges on opponent quality and injury luck elsewhere. The broader point is that the counterfactual likely yields a different development timeline. Ironically, it may or may not have produced the same late-career rushing dominance we observed at Georgia Tech, because system incentives differ.
To shift gears a bit, the third question. After going undrafted in 2026, he signs with Carolina and has that Hall of Fame game moment. How might his dual-threat skill set translate in the NFL, where, windows are tighter and defenders are faster?
Fundamentally, several components translate positively. First, designed quarterback runs and zone reads exist in the NFL, albeit in more selective doses. They can be potent in red zone and short yardage, precisely where King excelled with 37 collegiate rushing touchdowns. Second, RPO-adjacent quick game can be a developmental bridge, allowing on-schedule throws while building full-field progression comfort. Third, his preseason management in a 33-30 win suggests he can operate a huddle and create off-script when necessary. The constraints are real, however. NFL hashes narrow the field geometry, safeties disguise rotations late, and edge defenders can erase slow-developing keepers. Success will hinge on rapid post-snap diagnosis and ball security when contact arrives earlier than it did on Saturdays.
What are the concrete challenges he is likely to meet first? Like the first month problems for a rookie quarterback trying to make the roster as a UDFA?
Clearly 3 clusters. 1, processing speed. Middle field open versus closed, rotating safeties, simulated pressures. He must reach his answers faster than he did in college. 2, pocket integrity under NFL interior pressure. Climb or escape decisions must be disciplined, not merely athletic. 3, ball placement and turnover avoidance. His 2024 low interception rate is encouraging, but professional windows demand anticipatory throws into tight leverage. Areas for further research, as it were, include his third down EPA and preseason samples, red zone decision rates under man coverage, and how coordinators blend keeper runs without exposing him to undue hits. If he demonstrates incremental mastery here, roster viability follows, whether on the 53 or practice squad with elevation potential. To summarize, a dual-threat quarterback like Haynes King embodies the modern offense's preference for multiplicity. Run threats widen pass windows, and pass threats lighten boxes for run efficiency. We examined three lenses. Historically, his 2021 injury redirected him to a scheme that accentuated his strengths. Counterfactually, uninterrupted time at Texas A&M might have produced a different, perhaps more pro-style arc. Prospectively, his NFL translation will turn on processing speed, selective quarterback run usage, and ball security under pro-level disguise. For those wishing to read further, the evolution of quarterback roles from pocket-centric to option-infused systems is a rich literature. Compare collegiate RPO ecologies with their measured professional analogs. This then completes our present analysis. Thank you for listening.
That was helpful to think through, actually. Thank you, and goodbye.